Okay, brothers and sisters, this is Elder Rawchaa. As you can see, we're having technical difficulties, but those things will be corrected. We will be back in our regular location tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about it going forward. As you all know, the storm had us displaced for over 2 weeks now. And because of that, we've been having to deal with these makeshift productions as far as have a camera and a backdrop to actually do the lessons on a weekly basis to keep you informed and still feel, filled in on what's going on with the church. But all in all, if there's any continual issues here, what we'll do is I'll have to go to a different location, but hopefully that won't be the case because it's working right now. Right. Yes. All praises be the Most High, Ahaya Bahashim Yeshaya Rawchaa. We're here on the Sabbath. Let's do the Hebrew Credo real quick. Shema Yasha Allah Ahaya Alahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad.
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 Hear, O Israel.
Hear, O Israel.
The Lord our God is one.
The Lord our God is one.
Okay, I'm about to go into the lesson, but I have to make a few announcements. One moment. What's that noise? Huh? Yeah? All right. Let's go in. First off, just to get you all up to date here. First of all, I would like to say a blessed thank you to my brothers and sisters who all participated last week in our Passover. What a blessed Passover. And I'd like to thank the elders and deacons and all the brothers and sisters who participated and those who've actually followed us online. And we're about to upload both of those broadcasts so that you can see the inward workings of the church for this feast day that commemorates the death and rise of our Savior Christ. So, I mean, it was such a blessed week. We're in the Feast of Unleavened Bread now, and first of all, I wanted to thank everyone that was involved. The brothers and sisters who participated with the GOCC network that Friday day before the sundown last week, who showed their products and show, what gifts they bring to the table. I mean, what a blessed showing for the brothers and sisters coming together in the Spirit of Christ. The sisters did well. The brothers did well. Security was well. Everyone. I mean, and then I also want to say thank you. Okay. Especially to the brothers and the elders who was able to organize this throughout the country. It wasn't an easy task, but you did it. And I'd like to say thank you on that. The elders and deacons who brought everyone together into North Carolina. Of course, we're going into the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread tonight. So I'm going to give you some insight on that before we actually go into the lesson. But I wanted to say thank you. The audio, video department that worked, I mean, it was great, okay? And what's about to be uploaded, I'm sure the brothers and sisters will enjoy. Those that work behind the scenes at every capacity, I cannot say thank you enough, okay, for your support. Now, I also want to fill in brothers and sisters, fill you in who are in the academy, okay, and didn't receive a broadcast last Sunday. Don't worry about it. We didn't do it because of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the Passover, but week 2 begins tomorrow, which means we're going into, you got it. Yes, we're going into tracing the serpent seed. will be our lesson tomorrow, breaking down how the quote unquote what they call gods, led by Lucifer, their fall to this earth to take dominion from Adam, the image of God. I'll be going into that tomorrow, and because of the missed week, others who haven't enrolled can actually come in. So gathering is one at AOL.com, historytimes.org. Just come on in so that we can begin this academy, this journey together. Now, the reason why I announced that, I have to get you all abreast, up to date with so many things going on. Okay, so I wanted to, now that we're getting things back on track after the sundown tonight, we're back on schedule. We're back in the original place of broadcast. Mm-hmm. We're over the storm, well, at least this storm. Okay, and I have some other announcements later, but the academy is open. You want to be in this one. The fall of the gods, tracing the serpent seed, to show you how they begin to intermingle with people and build kingdoms that led to the Babylonian kingdom. We'll be going into all that tomorrow. Now, a most important lesson, right, we have today. The lesson we have today for this Sabbath, brothers and sisters, is the invisible workings in our lives. What's working on the outside of us, right? That influence our walk. How can we make sure, as people of God, those that follow the Bible, that the invisible forces of righteousness are working for us? Right? And it all comes down to choices. I'll be going into that tomorrow. On either side of what invisible power will yield or take control of our members. And it usually starts with an emotion. Okay? An emotion. Emotions have certain sensitivities that makes us waver from one side to the other. And that's why Christ mentioned, woe unto offenses, for offenses shall come. Those emotions have us view things in a certain light that will turn us dark. And through that, it moves us to the dark side and be utilized by those invisible forces. On the other hand, if we take everything in perspective, that the Most High has it, and it's his journey, his guidance towards his kingdom, and not take things personally all the time. What happens is we stay on the side of righteousness, where the angels take things up, and we stay on the right side of the Most High being guided. But you must be temperate to understand what side your emotions is moving you towards. Okay? And I'm saying that because on my way here, the Most High, because you're thinking, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to teach and what I'm going to go into, and the Most High reminded me in the spirit today on this Sabbath of what I was reading years ago in the scriptures that show that the tree of good and evil would be the balance, or is the balance for Satan's kingdom. Right? It's the balance for his kingdom. He used good and evil. Right? In his kingdom. There's laws that are actually good, that align with the Most High's laws. But it's an evil balance. So he's able to manipulate between the two, but then guide you to the dark side. We as a people must stay temperate and understanding at all times that our emotions can get us, towards the negative side, where the invisible is controlling us downward instead of upward. So what we're going to show today is the invisible workings in our lives, to show you that our holy patriarchs, our holy mother Sarah, our holy father Abraham, they all had these different emotions based on, what you would call impossible things that they thought was impossible according to this world. But then the Most High reminded them that they and their course were being charted from the invisible in righteousness. He had to remind them, because sometimes living in this world and operating in this world, we believe things become, to some degree, impossible. We begin to laugh and we're like, that's impossible. Not giving full credit to the invisible that's working for us. Right? So I'm going to go into all this so that we are, that we recognize at all times that invisible forces are working. And I want this class to resonate with us on this Sabbath. That at all times, good or bad, we are being influenced, guided, or turned away through invisible forces. Let's go to Ephesians 6. I love starting here. Let's go to Ephesians 6 and 12.
Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood.
Come on.
But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this world. That's what we're fighting against. Now tomorrow I'm going to go into detail concerning those forces that are always working. Okay? Against the image of God, which are the chosen. Right? Go on.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Against spiritual wickedness in high places. Right? That's what we're wrestling against. Those in righteousness or believe in the Bible. Okay? Those that are dealing with the cares of this world and want this world don't have this struggle. They're in total agreement with the invisible on the dark side to gain all the power and glory that Christ turned down at the mount. So the wrestling is not with the unrighteous. The wrestling is with those who are looking to be right, choose right towards the kingdom of God. So this is our fight that's being mentioned here. Right? Our struggle. That is enough we have to battle with those things we see. Right? But then there's another battle. Because we chose Christ, we're in a spiritual battle. The invisible are at war with us. Right? Come on.
Verse 13. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand.
We're in the evil day. We're living in full-fledged Sodom and Gomorrah. They're not hiding it anymore. We're in full-fledged days of Noah. At the height of it. We're in that evil day. Okay? Come on.
Verse 14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Come on.
And take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High. Praying always with all prayer.
Praying always with all prayer. Right? Our focus should be towards what? The Most High and His will. Praying. When it comes to things we don't understand, we pray to Him for understanding and comfort. We ask Him to send the Holy Spirit to guide us You understand? We must pray always, even in thought. Not dealing with what we see, because the context is we wrestle not with flesh and blood. The invisible are fighting against us. So we must pray and link in with the Most High at all times against these forces. Read.
Verse 18. Praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints.
For all saints. So let's give you some examples today on this Sabbath, brothers and sisters, of the invisible interventions, starting back with the promise of our forefathers, like Abraham, our father, Sarah, our mother, right? How the Most High always confirmed that he was there in the invisible, even when they believed that things were impossible according to this world. Okay? Because those are the forces, the righteous forces, that are fighting with us and for us. We must be mindful at all times that we're not alone. Let's go to Genesis 18 and 13.
Genesis chapter 18 and verse 13. And the Most High said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for the Most High? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son.
And Sarah shall have a son, right? Now our father Abraham is saying here, now this is how we came to be. Through something that was impossible according to this world. Right? We're through this promised child. Right? We're through this promised child through Abraham and Sarah, That child would be Isaac. And believe it or not, Abraham, my father, initially, and our mother Sarah, thought that we were impossible. Right? We're the children of Israel. They believe initially, based on all circumstances according to the course of this world, that bringing a child, their only child, into this earth, outside of Ishmael, who was 13 years at this time, was impossible. Read.
Verse 15. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid, and he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh.
But thou didst laugh. They were laughing. Because like this is not going to happen. Like a lot of us, when we deal with impossible scenarios, we begin to laugh and this will never happen. It could never be. Why? Because we were taught from a child on up to view things through what? Through fear and negativity, or the laws of this world and the laws of this world. When there's a greater law outside of this firmament, which works for us. So our father, Abraham fell to his face. Sarah laughed. Like Sarah was 90 years old. Our father Abram was 100. Almost. Like we can't have no children. Right? Read on.
Verse 16.
Come on.
And the men rose up from thence.
And I'm saying this because every obstacle, I'm giving this example, and I need this to resonate with us brothers and sisters. Every obstacle that comes before us, we tend to look at it as an obstacle, when that's not how we were brought here. You can't do this work and finish with the barriers in place. With the barriers, and look at the barriers to why you can't go through them or go over them or go around them. You can never look at the obstacle and say, I'm going to start with the obstacle. That's not how we got here. We got here through faith. We got here through an invisible working. So even in this work, I never think anything is impossible. I go with the flow and I go with the Spirit, and whichever way the Most High is guiding it, I'm good with it. Whichever way, because I know He has it. There's no obstacles. And that's how we have to view this work, because why? Satan, to control us, have built-in obstacles to stop us from getting our kingdom, our reward. So if you view things from obstacles, Satan's going to be throwing all types of things on the road. You wrestle not with flesh and blood. If he know you a person, when the first no comes or the first deterrent comes, you turn away, then hey, the forces, the invisible forces, are going to throw obstacles. That's the way it works. But I look at the obstacle and see it's there. I'm like, okay, it's nothing. Okay, it's there. But that's not going to become, the all to end all for me. I'm going to look at it and be like, okay, Satan then threw something there. But that's not going to be the situation. That's not going to be my focus. The kingdom is my focus. See? So let's go through these examples. Read.
Verse 16.
Come on.
And the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way.
Come on.
And the Most High said, Shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do?
Come on.
Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation.
Shall I hide from Abraham? Seeing, it says, and the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham the thing which I do? Right? Seeing that Abraham, read,
shall surely become a great and mighty nation.
Come on.
And all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him.
Come on.
For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Most High, to do justice and judgment, that the Most High may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him.
Come on.
And the Most High said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know.
Read.
Verse 22. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Most High.
But Abraham stood yet before the Most High. Right? Why? Because eventually there would be a war where Abraham would take down all the kings of Sodom and all that. And people thought that would be impossible. Right? We had a promise. We had warfare. But eventually, Abraham, through the spiritual forces, once he was able to see and stand in that spirit, was able to take everything down. So what happens initially in the truth, when the Most High revealed himself, he revealed himself to us through having us overcome obstacles, right, that we wouldn't have overcome otherwise. And then we start to realize, hold up, we're not alone. In the world at this time when these things happen, right, I was never able to do this or get over that. And we start to understand that even though it's the invisible working force, it's as real as a brother or sister sitting next to you. Abraham started to understand that, starting with that child when they couldn't have that child. And the Most High had Sarah get pregnant. Then it became from faith to faith. Well, hold up, I'm not alone. He said it would happen. I didn't think it could happen. It happened. And so it led to a stronger faith to deal with the wars against the wickedness in this earth. So there was no fear to battle. Why? Because he knew he wasn't alone. We have to really, when it talks about Abraham's faith and the blessings of Abraham and the kingdom, we must have this same faith, folks. Right? Understanding how the forces, the angels, works with us to conquer within this realm. You're going to need this. Listen to me clearly. Right? Let's go to Hebrews 11 real quick. Because through faith, what happens? Our fear minimizes. It builds our courage. Right? We tend to not look at obstacles as obstacles anymore. And the path to the kingdom comes clear. Let's go to Hebrews 11 real quick. Read the first verse. I'm going to read down. Check this out. Here's the faith of the disciples, what they understood. Right? Read it.
Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
The evidence of things not seen. Evidence is proof. Faith is what's hoped for, but it's the evidence of things not seen. When things materialize, which you thought was impossible, you understand that the angels, the ministering spirits on the righteous side, is working with you. And that begins to build your faith or your courage towards this kingdom. Now things don't become impossible anymore. It's when you look at an obstacle or look at a scenario and your mind is consumed in that one scenario. That's when the dark forces take hold or steer your direction, because you're only looking at one thing, the obstacle that Satan put before you. But faith, it's a spiritual material within itself, because it builds spiritual courage. The same way you may take weights and build your muscles. Well, you build your spiritual senses by exercising faith and understand that that's the connection between you and the power that's with you in the invisible. Listen clearly. Read.
Verse 2. For by it the elders obtained a good report.
Through faith the elders obtained a good report with the Most High and amongst people. Read.
Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Most High.
The worlds were framed by the word of the Most High. That means everything we see here, brothers and sisters, this earth we're walking on, materialized out of the invisible. So that means the invisible was working first. So how is it God don't exist? How is it the angels don't exist? When this earth was made out of something, it wasn't here from the beginning. Okay? It was materialized from the invisible and was made and created. Well, what created this earth, brothers and sisters? The powers, the ultimate power, are higher, that foreseen this whole thing, is invisible in our realm. But he exists nonetheless. He's all in all. See? People cannot see him or understand him spiritually, because why? They're dealing with the course and the powers and God of this world. Okay. Listen to this about faith. Read.
So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
Things that are seen were made by what?
Were not made
of
things which do appear.
Which do appear. Right? Those things that appear in the earth didn't make the earth. We are just a product of creation. So who made everything? The invisible. We're here as ministers of the Most High and His Word to give brothers and sisters the understanding of that great power that we may deem invisible. And build the faith in Him. And show people, brothers and sisters, He's as real, like I said earlier, as someone sitting right next to you. Come on.
Verse 4. By faith, Abel offered unto the Most High a more excellent sacrifice than Cain.
Come on.
By which he obtained witness that he was righteous, the Most High testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh.
So through faith, Abel had faith from the beginning. Now some people might look at that and be like, well, eventually his brother Cain killed him. Right? So if we're looking at it negatively or from the negative, because I mentioned earlier, you got negative and positive forces, you would say, well, hold up. He had faith, but yet through that faith, he died. Well, guess what? He's standing glorious amongst the fathers. He didn't have to go through what we're going through. All right? And beyond that, in the kingdom, brothers and sisters, if we are blessed enough to make it, we'll see Abel. Okay? He did the right thing, even unto death. Sounds familiar? We're in the Passover. So even through death, the Most High has a work. Okay? Based on what? His plan. His overall plan. And usually and sometimes death happens as a part of it. But this world can't perceive anything like that, because why? The world is carnal. We only look at death as bad, negative, right? Death came into the world through sin. But all in all, Christ himself dying worked an invisible function for the positive. I'm going to go into that. But through faith, what I'm saying is, through faith, in a nutshell, sometimes death can happen. But you still walk through it. You still go through it and have your courage, even unto death. Read.
Verse 5. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death.
See that? By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death. That happened before the flood. Okay? He was he actually changed. The change that it tells us that will happen in the book of Thessalonians, well, that happened with Enoch before the flood. He was taken up to judge the wickedness that came to earth. I'll be going into that tomorrow. And for those who claim that we shouldn't read the book of Enoch, or the book of Enoch is not correct, well, okay. We have the Bible. Someone show me what the disciples knew in the book of Hebrews in the Old Testament. Show me Enoch being translated into the heavens in the Old Testament. I'm waiting. Where did they get that testimony? That they knew that Enoch was taken into the heavens. Okay? It's in the book of Enoch. Read.
The middle of verse 5.
Come on.
And was not found because the Most High had translated him.
The Most High took him into the heavens to judge the fallen gods. One moment. One moment here. One moment. Is it this one? Mm-hmm. Okay, this one. Go on. So Enoch was translated into the heavens to do a work in this earth. The Most High would send him to judge the fallen ones. And I'm going into that tomorrow. Okay. Tracing the serpent seed, the fall of the gods. Read.
For before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased the Most High.
Before the Most High changed Enoch, he had a testimony that he pleased the Most High. See? That's our individual purpose on this earth. Man and woman, to understand where we stand with him and whether or not we are pleasing him. See? Come on.
Verse 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him.
Without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High, brothers and sisters. It's impossible to please him. He understands what we're dealing with here on earth. If you lack faith, Satan will always throw obstacles to stop you from seeing him. If that's what it takes. So that he can guide you. There's only two masters. If you're not serving the Most High, you're serving the other. And even Christ says, he says he'd rather you be hot or cold. Because at least those that are dealing with dark forces understand the gods that they're dealing with. The Gentiles. And dealing with the benefit of it. Okay? Because they do get good things in this earth from Satan. There's a good and evil. So they get empires, technology, finances, control of us. But in order to do that, they must serve their gods. Ultimately, it's Satan, the fallen one. So, if we ain't pleasing the Most High by having faith and linking all the way into him, by default, we are being controlled by the dark forces of this world. By default. And that's even for those who believe. Okay? You can believe and know this is the truth, but not exercise in faith. But without faith, how do you know the Most High? So you can have this truth, and you'll be one standing before the Christ upon his coming, and he's going to be like, what? You're going to say, didn't I do this? I knew the truth. I was following this. I was following that. And he was going to return and says, I never knew you. You didn't exercise enough faith to know me. Okay? You turned away. You went your own way. So knowing the truth is not a ticket into the kingdom of heaven. Exercising faith and knowing what's in the invisible working for us is. That will get us into the kingdom of heaven. Okay? And that's for each individual. The Christians talk about all the time having this relationship with God. It's every individual, okay, has an obligation to know the God we serve and to have enough faith to connect with him. Even the Bible says, it tell you in Corinthians, husband, you think you can save your wife? Wife, do you think you can save your husband? No. How many people marry and then, the Most High forbid, a woman become a widow or vice versa? The rest of that journey in their life is between them and the Most High. They always had that separate journey, even together. So just because someone is there right now doesn't mean that this person can get you into the kingdom of heaven. It's an individual walk. Everyone individually must know their place with the Most High and find Him. And that's even in the truth. Studying, reading, getting your questions answered by Him. Right? We're speaking of how to connect with that invisible, what we deem invisible, the forces of righteousness that works for us. Read.
Verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please Him.
Come on.
For he that cometh to the Most High must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek Him.
Come on.
By faith Noah, being warned of the Most High of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
This is a perfect example of the faith and the invisible exercising outside of what the whole world might deem as the norm. This is the perfect example, right? One man, Noah, right, gets direction from the invisible to build an ark that would preserve all the original 22 creatures that were made in the beginning, right? To preserve at least those 22. The original creatures, right? Now, he builds a boat, just him and his family. The whole world didn't get this invisible message. So, you have a guy building a boat on dry ground, while the whole world is partying and doing what it's doing. Acted out, and every day one day would go by and another day would come, and they was looking at this guy sitting there with a boat on dry land. Who was the crazy one here? Who's the crazy one there? Who's the one that's not tuned in? Everyone else believe it's Noah. Right? And Noah's telling them it's going to rain. So that's the example I use for myself, in certain instances. When I'm bombarded inundated with the negative saying to me, what's wrong with y'all the minority? Everyone else is saying this and y'all are saying that. Why can't you just go with what everyone else is doing? And why is that you do things this way outside of everyone else? These are the scriptures I draw from. Or even when it comes to family who may look at it and say, y'all been talking about that end of the world stuff for how long, and the world is still going on. Look what's going on. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I find comfort in reading about Noah, because he was hearing the same things. He was hearing, here it is, this guy standing next to a boat. A full, he's still building a boat. There's no water anywhere. Right? But through faith, he heard that message from the invisible and executed. He connected. And the Most High confirmed that word that was given to him. That understanding, that message, when it rained. It was too late for everyone else. See? Come on.
Verse 8. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise.
So just imagine that. He was told to go somewhere. The Most High just gave him a direction and said, go. Abraham was already trenched in, filthy rich. All the cattle, he had provinces, he had servants, you name it. Think about the richest guy on earth right now. That's Abraham, and greater, because he had real resources. It wasn't about something in the bank, a number in the bank somewhere. Okay? And the Most High said out of nowhere, okay, get up and go that way, because I'm going to show you the land that's going to be, that eventually, that the children of promise will inhabit. He didn't blink. After being shown that child Isaac, who they thought was impossible, after winning a war that people thought was impossible, the Most High, right, became as real, even in the invisible, than any substance or anything he might see within this realm. Abraham was dealing with the invisible power. So Abraham stood up, a thought came in and says, okay, we have to go. No one thought twice. They all got up and went. See? That's the faith. Now, it's our position as ministers and teachers of the Bible to put out to the earth what the Most High revealed to us to teach. It's, that's all our job is. And to guide people into this kingdom who have a resolve within themselves that they would like to change their lives, be baptized and get that new spirit, be born again, build that faith in order to connect and use that faith towards the kingdom. That's our position. That's what we must do. Fishers of men. We must teach. It doesn't matter whether someone agree or disagree with it. We just bringing forth the word that the Most High have given us. It's up to that person to take the faith and understand whether or not it applies to them for the kingdom of heaven. And I'm saying that because another obstacle Satan uses is to have us just relegate all this information to men and believe, well, that's what they teach, or that's what this man said. No. It's the word of the Most High. We'll put it out there and people will try to minimize it and say, oh, that's the GOCC doctrine. That's a satanic way of packaging something. It was not the Most High. That's GOCC. Okay. You don't have to listen. We're just going to proclaim to you what the Most High said, give you the information he gave us to relay. It's up to you to exercise faith and see the Most High and be guided. Right? Because why? It was always only a few people in the Old Testament that exercised enough faith to understand. It's, usually the truth is going to be against the norm, the masses. It's just the way it is. Right? Come on, finish with that faith.
Verse 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise.
Come on.
For he looked for a city which have foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High.
Exactly. He was looking for what?
For he looked for a city which have foundations, whose builder and maker is the Most High.
And here's another level, because Abraham was shown the kingdom. See? So when he went there and seen the land, did it have cities and all that on it? No. But the Most High showed him the territory. And it shows us in the New Testament, in Revelations, that you can see the kingdom coming down into that space. So our father Abraham, who sit amongst the elders in heaven now, seen that kingdom. The Most High showed him and showed him the son who would rule it. Right? But he had to build his faith. His faith was strengthened since the age of 10. He was raised, he was taught by Noah, he was taught by Shem, who was Melchizedek, and he was raised a priest for this side. The Most High gave him that vision. He lived that vision from faith to the end until he sat where he sits now amongst the elders in heaven. Right? Read.
Verse 11. Through faith also, Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised.
Come on.
Therefore sprang
and you know what? And we check out that promise that came from the invisible, that child, folks. That promise belongs to us. Everything that was shown to Abraham and our mother Sarah is ours. If only we exercise that same faith. Okay, and not get ourselves blocked with the obstacles of this world. It all belongs to us, brothers and sisters. Read.
Verse 12. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable.
Look at that. Abraham was almost dead. He was up in age. And from him, his children are innumerable. Not just the children of Israel. Okay? There's other nations in the east right now that sprang out of Abram. When you look at the Arabs, the Middle Easterns, okay, they all sprang out of our father. And he was good as dead. He couldn't have one child at first, let alone children innumerable. Right? But through that faith, the Most High showed. Listen, something small can become great. And when you look at our people, and I can, let me segue to this example. When you look at the conditions of our people right now, how destitute we are, and how divided we are, and how low we, and how destroyed we are, how desolate we are. It's almost impossible to believe that this nation that can't get anything together is going to become the greatest nation on earth and will rule everything. See, but that's how the Most High does it. You understand? So we'll understand that it's not of our power. So that gives me some spiritual resolve when I see the condition of the Most High God's people. I get some resolve there to know that, you know what? Through these people, this destitute, low people, the Most High is going to change everything. Therefore, the credit cannot go on individuals, cannot go to man. Right? Come on.
Verse 13.
Yes.
These all died in faith.
They all died in faith. They believed to the very end. Their lives exemplified faith. Okay? That's what their life was about. They died with that same faith. Read.
Not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them.
Now check that out. They had faith to die in a kingdom that wouldn't appear before their time, during their time. But they still had the faith living as if they was going to get the kingdom while they were still alive. We as a people at the very end, we're close. And for some reason, lack more faith. I mean, we lack faith opposed to those who would have never seen it. You know, the kingdom come to this earth. We're in that time. We're close. We're closer than they were. than even the disciples who Christ laid the groundwork with. We're closer than them. But they died in faith as if the kingdom would come during their time. Right? Come on.
The end of verse 13. And confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
Hold up. And this is what strengthened their faith. Read that last piece again, Shapar.
Verse 14. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country.
That they seek a country. Right? So there's something in them that understands that at the end of this, that promise will eventually be fulfilled. The kingdom of heaven. Right? We're working towards a territory that was promised to us. Even back then, they understood, our forefathers, that the kingdom was not as yet. Not during their period. They understood this. But they worked anyway towards it. See? Just like we're pilgrims. We're strangers scattered all over the earth. I see some people still trying to go back to Israel. Israel is still a strange land. That's not what was promised. That little area that the Europeans have taken. That's not what was promised. So when people go over there and think they're dealing with the Holy Land, that thing is desolate. We're pilgrims all over the earth. We're homeless until the coming of our Lord and Savior. But through faith, we see the end of this. Where death is put down. There's no more sin, lying, cheating, deceiving. Where there's peace. Right? With God's people being the integral cog within this transformation. We see the end of it. That's why the Most High sold John through Christ. The 144,000, the 12,000 from each tribe. Showed the many multitudes which no man could number, sitting there with palms in their hands, standing with palms in their hands and all white on. He showed them the end of it. Total peace. Satan put down. See? That's the faith we have to see. We have to look to that beyond all obstacles. This is where I'm trying to go. Here's my destination. Read.
Verse 15. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned.
Come on. If they was mindful of that country that they came out, they would have an opportunity to return. Right? It's showing you through faith they understood what belonged to them. And if they understood what belonged to them, they would seek Zion again. Now, speaking of our people, right there. We don't have an opportunity. We're not thinking about returning to Zion or getting the kingdom, because in this world we're taught that we're some other people. We don't think about one day having the kingdom that was given to Abraham. Having all of that region, not just that little plot that's taken by the Europeans right now. We don't desire that because we think we're African or someone else. Right? Read.
Verse 16.
Come on.
But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their power.
Come on.
For he hath prepared for them a city. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son.
Come on.
Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Even though the promise was through that son, the only son of promise, which is Isaac, Abraham was still willing to go forward with the sacrifice. Okay, but that was just a foreshadowing of Christ, who would be sacrificed in the future for the sins of our nation, and through that sacrifice, that death we as a people would obtain that original promise. That redemption through bloodshed. Now we have an opportunity through Christ's blood to receive that promise that Israel lost through breaking God's law. Okay? We have that promise. The Most High haven't forgotten us. We can now desire our homeland again, which will come down after that place is dealt with. Okay, our homeland will be built out of the ashes. And not before then. And we're telling brothers and sisters over and over again, beware of going over there. That's the valley of Jehoshaphat. Beware of going into that land and all the areas around it. It will be utterly dealt with. Okay? A war is coming. A war is coming. And the next war, they move from what? They move from Iraq, first the Persian Gulf. They moved to Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, Syria, and they have now surrounded Iran. The next war in this administration right now, that's when this war will occur, during this administration. Okay? When that war go down, it changes everything. When they strike Iran, brothers and sisters, Iran in retaliation is going to attack the closest country in proximity, and that's Israel. I tell you in the book of Ezekiel that eventually all the kings in that particular area, which are the priest of Edom and all that, those that are really over things, not just the people living there, are going to go into Chittim, which is Cyprus. That will be the middle ground for them. Cyprus. And that's why there's so many empty houses and stuff over there, because they're being prepared for that, for refuge, before they go back to Rome. And all of our people who know they Israel now that's going over there, they're going to burn. They're going to die if they're in Israel. Okay? Period. Because that ain't what the Most High promised us. He didn't promise a land built by the bloody hands of heathens. He did not promise us. He didn't show Abraham that. A land being overran by heathens and wickedness. So our people are going over there partaking in that evil. And they're going to die with the heathen there. You're not supposed to go there, because that's not the land that's promised to us geographically. That's a land that was only colonized by the Europeans, right? To exercise something prophetic, which is the destruction in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Okay? You go there, you die with the heathen. Okay? Straight out, because the Most High didn't promise us a land that the heathen is running. Okay, our king must deliver this kingdom. That's what was showed to Abraham with that sacrifice. It was a son that would come and die and eventually sit on the throne of David in prophecy and deliver our kingdom. And he will show us the way into the land. Okay, read on.
Verse 19. Accounting that the Most High was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph, and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff.
Read the verse before that, because there's something I wanted to bring out of that.
Verse 20.
Yeah.
By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come.
Concerning things to come. So our father Isaac on his deathbed gave the blessings to our father Isaac. Jacob. Jacob. And he blessed them, showing them things to come in Isaiah 49. Okay. Read that last part again.
Hebrews 11 and verse 20.
Come on.
By faith, Isaac blessed
Jacob
and Esau concerning things to come.
and Esau in things to come. So Jacob was shown the things that would come, which is eventually what? He showed Jacob in Genesis 49 what would happen. That we would be scattered. And attributes concerning all 12 tribes. He also showed Esau on his deathbed that once the yoke is broken off of Esau, that means Jacob would begin to fall through breaking God's law. That Esau would gain dominion. Read it. When you get an opportunity, go to Genesis and read the 27th chapter. You'll see that Esau was promised a dominion on earth. Okay? The dominion is what we're seeing now, the Roman Empire, which destroyed that teaching that the white man is Japheth. Okay? Nowhere in the Bible it tells you that Japheth would rule at the end. That promise was given to Esau when Esau was begging his father for a blessing. Matter of fact, let's read that real quick to prove that. Hold that where you are and go to Genesis 27 for me real quick. Right? Let me get it here. Start at the 38th verse, 27 and 38.
And Esau said unto his father,
Yeah.
Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father.
Exactly. So Isaac blessed Esau with a prophetic blessing. Right? Read.
And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth.
Thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Go on.
And of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live.
Thy sword thou shalt live. So you will gain power in the earth through warfare. The sword. Rome. Read.
And shalt serve thy brother.
So initially he was supposed to serve his brother, right? Listen clearly.
And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion.
When thou shalt have the what?
The dominion.
How would Esau get the dominion? Through the fall of Jacob. When Jacob began to sin and break the law, who would get dominion? Esau, Edom. Right? So he would have an empire according to prophecy. We know who Edom is. Okay? A matter of fact, in week 3 or 4, about week 4, we go into who's Edom. So that's another deception, them teaching that Esau just disappeared somewhere or don't exist or they're Japhetic people. No, it tells us that according to the Bible, according to prophecy, our father Isaac blessed Esau with a dominion. He would rule at the end. Now go back to where you were in Hebrews. No. Yeah. He would get the dominion. That's all I wanted out of that. Huh? Okay, we're going to go with part 2 in one moment. Hold tight. All right, picking up from where we left off at, brothers and sisters. Let's go to Hebrews real quick.
Hebrews 11?
Yeah, where you left off at in Hebrews 11.
Hebrews 11 and 11. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised.
Come on.
Therefore sprung there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many.
We went after that. It's way after that. One moment, let's see.
I think it's verse
16, yeah.
20. By faith, Isaac blessed.
By faith, Isaac, yeah.
Hebrews 11 and verse 20.
Read.
By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come.
Come on. And Esau concerning things to come. He showed Isaac that eventually Isaac, when you look at Genesis, he showed Isaac the kingdom, number one, once things are finished. But he also showed Isaac showed Jacob the kingdom, and he also showed him what would befall us in the last days once our children begin to sin. What we would need to get through as a people to actually get to the kingdom of heaven. Right? And that's where the faith comes in at. He also showed Esau, when Esau lost the blessing after selling his birthright, that Esau would eventually have the dominion. But eventually, at the end of that, Esau would have to serve his brother. It was prophesied before the children were born. And that's what Esau is fighting against today. He's trying to keep this kingdom, understanding that this is the only thing left for him. After that, he must fulfill the prophecy that was given to our mother Sarah, that the elder shall serve the younger. Okay? Read on.
Verse 21. By faith, Jacob, when he was dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel.
Exactly. So, two children that were born through part Shemite and part Hamite were Joseph's children. Okay, these were mixed children. One was an Israelite, Joseph, and his wife, which were the daughter of the priest, was an Egyptian. Well, there was two children that became adopted within the 12 tribes of Israel, Manasseh and Ephraim. These two became Jacob, and now they're part of the 12 tribes of Israel. Read.
By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment.
The king's commandment was that all children, all male child should die. Right? Read.
24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High, than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
Come on.
Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward.
He had more respect for the reward than the riches of this world. Check that out. Read. And he gave up all his power over Egypt. Within Egypt, he was famous. Speaking of one of our forefathers, one of our patriarchs in the Old Testament, Moses. When I say not patriarchs, but he was one of the great prophets and leaders. Okay. Read on.
Verse 24.
Yes.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather...
Read the next verse for me, please.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of the Most High, than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt.
So Moses believed in Christ going forward. He seen the kingdom through faith. Through faith, you're shown the whole picture. Even who would eventually save and deliver Moses a kingdom. Okay, because Moses he seen the kingdom from afar off before he passed over. But to enter in, it would be through Christ. Read.
For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible.
Not fearing the wrath of who's ruling. Looking and understanding and believing in the invisible, who is more powerful than the ruler of these empires. See that? Go on.
Verse 28. Through faith he kept the Passover.
And through faith he kept what?
The Passover.
The Passover. That's the time we're in now. And as you notice, we're reading this in the New Testament, in the book of Hebrews, in the epistles. So all the disciples, even up until John the Revelator on the Isle of Patmos, only followed the Passover, not Easter. Easter is a wicked pagan holy day, which begins tomorrow, the worship of what? Semiramis during the spring solstice. It's a wicked and evil day. But the disciples did what? You got it. They followed the Passover. They worshiped on the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Read.
And the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them.
Go on.
By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, as saying to do, were drowned.
Exactly. Read that part again.
By faith they passed through the Red Sea.
They passed through the Red Sea.
As by dry land.
As by dry land. What happened? A spiritual intervention. The angels made Rawchaa, dry ground. That was an invisible work so that we could pass through. Once we passed through, the angels let the walls of the water fall upon the Egyptian army. That was the invisible operating within our presence. Okay, and it tells us in the book of Isaiah that will happen again. That he's going to smite the sea 7 ways. And we're going to walk on dry shod again. In the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, it goes into it. Read.
Which the Egyptians essaying to do were drowned. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. Verse 31. By faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And what shall I say more? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets.
And of the prophets, the Old Testament. Read.
Verse 33. Who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned.
See that? The same things we go through now. In prison, stoned, treated like second-class citizens. All these things are part of it. But the righteous stood through them. Read.
Verse 37. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise.
They suffered all the way to the end. A lot of the prophets didn't even live amongst the population, didn't even have a house. Christ didn't even have a place to lay his head. Okay? And went all the way through this life in faith. Read.
Verse 40. The Most High having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
So, this is how we obtain a level of perfection in the Most High through faith. By exercising the righteousness of the invisible. And believe, folks. And not deal with the diversions. The prophets didn't let the obstacles and diversions take them. Neither shall we. Okay? Let's get back into it now. Let's go to Isaiah 49. Right? Isaiah 49 and 3.
Isaiah chapter 49 and verse 3.
Come on.
And said unto me,
Thou
art my servant,
Thou art my servant, O Israel. Read.
O Israel, in whom I will be glorified.
Okay, we are the servants of the Most High, in whom the Most High will be glorified. He's seen through us. His people. Right? Come on.
Verse 4. Then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with the Most High, and my work with my power.
Come on.
And now, saith the Most High that...
It says, then I said, I have labored in vain. Right? I have spent my strength for nothing. Not in vain. Surely my judgment is with the Lord, and my work with my God. Because sometimes in this earth, what happens, we do things and say, what am I doing it for? Nothing. I'm not getting anything. I'm not benefiting anything. I'm doing all this, and people are still rejecting the truth and all that. Right? People are still rejecting me. Is all this work in vain? Am I following the law for nothing? Am I following the Most High's law for nothing? Or am I following the Bible for nothing? Satan will come in with what? An obstacle or form of weakness. Read.
Verse 5.
Come on.
And now saith the Most High that formed me from the womb to be his servant.
To be his servant.
To bring Jacob again to him.
No, it's not for nothing. We were formed to bring Jacob back. See that? Now, of course, the churches, the Christian churches teach replacement doctrine, that Jacob doesn't matter, and that if you are in Christ, you are Abraham's seed, and all this other garbage they're teaching, while ignoring the physical people of the Bible. Right? Isaiah understood that he was formed to do what?
Verse 5. And now saith the Most High that formed me from the womb to be his servant.
Come on.
To bring Jacob again to him.
To bring Jacob again to him.
Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of the Most High.
Even though Israel is not gathered, he will be glorified in the eyes of the Most High. The invisible is looking in at that servant doing a work, even if the world doesn't recognize him. He's bringing Jacob back with the word, showing you how the invisible is manifested through servants. Come on.
And my power shall be my strength.
My God shall be my strength, which is a higher. Read.
Verse 6. And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob.
Come on.
And to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles.
And once I get Israel together through my servants, is what the Most High is showing, these people will be a light to the Gentiles. Why? Because the Gentiles are in darkness. They haven't been shown what's right. And it's going to be through these same people the Most High will show forth the kingdom. Read.
That thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth.
Come on.
Thus saith the Most High, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him whom man despiseth, to him whom the nation abhorreth.
Because the nations hate him. Read.
To a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise.
Come on.
Princes also shall worship because of the Most High that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee.
He shall choose thee. Read on.
Verse 8. Thus saith the Most High, in an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation have I helped thee. And I will preserve thee, and give thee for a covenant of the people.
An agreement. Read.
To establish the earth.
To establish the what?
The earth.
The earth. It's through us, the children of God, this earth will be established. And it's happening as we speak, brothers and sisters. Our brothers and sisters who are a part of churches and other religions and all that are coming back to the Most High for his purpose, a greater purpose than the one we have, than what we presently have in now, just learning and listening and just studying and applying the law. Eventually, we will execute this on the outside of us and be a light to the world. Okay? And all of that came from the invisible, brothers and sisters. He will manifest his power through us. Come on.
To cause to inherit the desolate heritages, that thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth, to them that are in darkness, show yourselves.
So we're going to tell the prisoners, go forth. You're free. You're no longer in spiritual bonds. Even physical prisoners, those that are physically prison, are going to get this knowledge and operate in a certain way in the spirit that will lead as a result to the Most High freeing them from physical bondage. Read it.
Verse 9. That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth, to them that are in darkness, show yourselves. They shall feed in the ways, and their pastures shall be in all high places.
Now, hold on. Now, let's get Romans 10 real quick, because I have to, it's 2:19, so I have to. Now I'm going to go into real quick how our own efforts sometimes have us go outside the scriptures. And through that, we're not tapping fully into our spiritual power. We must stay within the scriptures when it comes to our mission and faith with the Most High for the kingdom of heaven. So now I'm going to go into Romans 10 to show you how sometimes what happens is we tend to operate based on obstacles outside of scriptures. And by doing so, we lose our strength, which is faith, and begin to be utilized from the other side. So we must stay in that strength, brothers and sisters, and that faith from day to day. Okay? Let's go there. Romans 10 real quick.
10 and 1.
10 and 1. Let's read it.
Brethren, my heart desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved.
He says that they might be saved. So Paul was saying, I pray to the Most High that these people, the chosen people, might be saved. Read.
Verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High.
I bear them record that they have a zeal of God. So these are spiritual people. They want to know God. They want to serve God. Read.
But not according to knowledge.
Our people have a zeal of God, but not according to the knowledge of him. So we have a people who is searching for the Most High, but they're going on the outside of him. All right? A zeal for him, but they lack the knowledge of how to know him, how to make him real. As I mentioned, as we all, like this brother sitting beside me, to know he's as real as that. We lack that knowledge. So our people are going on the outside to try to find things. We want to go into how to connect with the Most High in a moment, how to know him. My people have a zeal of God but not according to the knowledge of him, which is in the Bible. Read.
Verse 3. For they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness.
They're ignorant of his righteousness. They begin to what?
And going about to establish their own righteousness.
So they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness are going now to trying to find a way to establish their own righteousness. Okay. And we see that people going around the directions of the Most High's word. We have people now are establishing their own righteousness. Well, I got a personal relationship with him. I'm going to do it my way. Okay. Outside of the commands like the prophets. The path of the prophets. We're operating on the outside of that now. Right? For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, read,
have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High.
Have not submitted themselves to the righteousness of the Most High. Right? Now, let me give you some examples of that real quick. Right? We have people who know they're Israelites who reject Christ. Right? They have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. They read the Old Testament, but they talk about the kingdom and us being Israel, but reject the one who was prophesied to deliver the kingdom. Right? Another example, we have our brothers and sisters on the outside of us who reject the Bible altogether. They have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. Because why? They cannot tap in to the invisible, which was with us in the beginning. So even Paul says our people are spiritual, but they all, as a people, lack faith. Right? There's more. Let's go to Mark 5, 1 through 13.
The book of Mark chapter 5 and verse 1.
Come on.
And they came over unto the other side of the sea into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit.
So here's an example of something happened in real time, right? Now this example is something that we see all the time. A brother or a sister dealing with a demon, which they may call today, which is deemed or termed a mental illness. Right? Come on.
Verse 3. Who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains.
Come on.
Because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces. Neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones.
Now, we've seen this. People walking down the street, they cut themselves. You see cuts on their arms, people screaming in public, look like they got a demon talking to themselves. Well, this happened during the time of Christ. Read.
Verse 6.
Come on.
But when he saw Yeshua afar off, he ran and worshipped him.
Come on.
And cried with a loud voice and said, What have I to do with thee, Yeshua?
Why am I going here? Because now we're dealing with the forces, or recognizing the forces that materialize themselves real time. And this is something we see every day. from the left-hand side. We have righteous forces that works for us towards the kingdom of heaven. But on the other side, there's other forces that present themselves through people to let you know the dark forces, invisibly, the invisible dark forces exist. Here's an example. Here's a man, a brother, overtaken with demons. Right? And then the spirits recognize Christ walking, the one of faith, of spirit, that he see the spiritual power of Christ. Right? Speaking of these spirits, not the man. And see all the forces that minister to Christ and understand his power. And these dark forces of the earth recognizes him and says what? Read it.
What have I to do with thee, Yeshua, thou son of the Most High Power?
What do I have to do with you? Okay. Why are you here before me? Christ recognized the dark forces, the invisible. Read.
I adjure thee by the Most High that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit.
Says, come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. Right? So now Christ is speaking and commanding the dark forces, which are invisible. You can't see them, but they're exercising within that particular person. Now, I wanted to bring that example because when the righteousness of faith is operating in a person, it's recognized. It's shown forth publicly. By the same token, when someone is overtaken with one of the demons or the dark forces, it exercises itself in the flesh. And we can see its presence. Even though it's a man being utilized, a spirit is operating. Well, that happens on either side of this, brothers and sisters. Okay? Read on.
Verse 9. And he asked him,
Come on.
And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many.
For we are many. Who's the we? Spirits, demons, dark forces. We are many. Right? Read.
Verse 10. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there was there nigh unto the mountain a great herd of swine feeding.
Come on.
And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them.
Come on.
And forthwith Yeshua gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea.
Into the sea, read.
There were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea.
And speaking of spirits, right? Dark forces that presented themselves before Christ. Now, I want to mention this, brothers and sisters, because I talked about it earlier. How you have positive spirits that work for those who are in faith. And you have the negative that comes from the demons or the fallen ones who inhabit people. And through this, our choices, we're moved by either side within this earth. Okay? We either guided downward by the demons, like you see they went into the sea, and the spirits end up going where they went. I'm going to go into that in the academy, which is downward to hell, or towards the kingdom of heaven if we operate in righteousness, right? But here's the deal, brothers and sisters. These spirits materialize or get into people a specific way. A specific way, right? And I mentioned earlier about the emotions. Okay. Someone hurt us. Okay, or we feel offended. We react to something. Someone did something to us, right? Negatively. And what do we do? Instead of turning to the Most High, we turn to the dark forces for help or for some resolve, right? And I wanted to mention that, brothers and sisters, because this is the battle we're in. And I can see it clear that, and I'm talking about for those who believe. Okay? Spirits are looking to tear apart those who are in the truth. And these forces in the invisible are overtaking many people. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was to a point where when you read about this man, right, that Christ seen, eventually had to be moved apart, right, from civilization, because he couldn't be handled no more. Because why? One demon after the next overtook this man to the point where he couldn't operate within normal society. But he wasn't always that way. Usually it's one thing that happens that lead to you doing something where another demon enter, and then now they overtake you where you have no control, and they open the door for all the demons to come so that they can have bodies to operate with. Hosts. You become a host, folks. And that's how it happens. It happens through offenses, backbiting. It happens through thinking evil towards other people. Okay? When we should be thinking towards what? Our minds should be towards prayer, faith, the kingdom, forgiveness. Okay? So we want the righteous operating for us in the invisible, not the negative. Or eventually they'll open up a door and they'll take hosts. Okay? And if you recognize that you recognize, okay, something ain't right about me, let me fast and pray, usually it'll go and try to find someone else. But if you stay in that spirit, whatever spirit, that negative, whatever spirit that opened that door for that demon, and it stays there, guess what? That spirit going to become part of your senses. And through those senses, to stay there, it will open the door for others. You're going to start thinking about doing other things that's negative. Another spirit will come in. Then another spirit will come in. And another spirit will come in. Next thing you know, you're not yourself anymore. And everyone on the outside of your family, everybody's looking at you like, okay, this person has lost their mind. That's what they coin or try to preference as mental illness. Okay? And you will get to a place so far with the demons, no one can help you, because why? They need you alone to use you. So that's why this guy was alone in a mountain somewhere. But Christ found that spirit, found the guy. He was out there by himself. Christ found him and freed him from those spirits. Right? That's the invisible that's materialized. So when you see someone that's dealing with mental illness and all that, those are invisible spirits that have taken host. But their actions in the person show you how real they are. Are you following me here? Now the example I can give you, let me give you one more example. You feel a certain type of way, negative, about your brother or sister, right? And instead of you going to the person like Christ say go to them to resolve it, right? You sit there and begin to have thoughts negative about your own brother or sister. Now, that's not Christ. Because Christ says if you have a problem, you go to your brother or sister and you do it before the nightfall come. Why does it say that? He says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath, because Satan will plant a seed. But instead of you doing what Christ say do, you sitting there with some negative cancer in your heart against your own brother or sister. Well, guess what? What you're feeling is just one spirit. But the spirit that came in that have you feel that way is not going to stop there, because he need a host. These were the thoughts. Like that initial spirit was the thought that ended up having Cain kill his brother Abel. So it doesn't start with just you having a disagreement. The spirit say, well, okay, I'm here now. I got somebody seeing things my way. Okay? As long as I can keep this person in this state, I have a body to operate in. Okay? That's how it works. And then, when you start getting a conscience, you fell weak, but the Spirit is still there, and you start getting a conscience to say, you know what, I need to start getting things together. I can't be feeling this way. That's a good start. But the Spirit recognizes it too, because it's attached to your senses. And it'll say, you know what, I need this person to do something. I need sin to stay here. That's how it works. It's still there. But to stay there, it compounds or open the door. It'll lead you to places that will have other spirits to come in and help it continue within your members. Okay? That's how it works. And it's totally invisible. Right? No one can see this physically. The only time you realize it is when it's acted out within the flesh. Okay? Let's give some more examples. I'm just going to go over just about 10-15 minutes to show some examples. Right? But let me make it clear. Through Christ, we can overcome all of this. Okay? We can overcome all this and really operate in the Spirit, recognize how to utilize the invisible that's operating on the righteous side in protection going forward every day, and not have to worry about what the negative side can do to us. Okay? Christ showed us how to walk in this. Okay? Like for instance, and I can use myself as an example. And I usually started with the brotherhood or with the sisters in everyday actions, because these are the examples anyone can understand. If I feel that there's an issue, right, that I'm feeling, and it's pertaining to another person, they don't ever have to worry about the next day going down. I'm going to say it right there. In a spirit of meekness, I'm not going to try to offend them, but I'm going to say it right there. Right? I'm going to say it right there because why? That person will probably give me a perspective and understanding that I didn't have. And I'll be like, well, okay, I can understand that. Now we brothers. Now, I'd rather hear the perspective from that brother or sister than to be assuming after keeping this in my heart 2 or 3 days later, and now I'd have made up a whole thing of something that don't exist. A whole scenario. I'd rather hear the perspective so that my head don't go there. Like, this person is doing this wrong to me or doing wrong. There must be a reason for this. So let me go and speak to this person and hear their perspective. Or they may not know they're doing wrong. Right? I'm just giving you that example real quick, right? Now, let's get some more examples. Let's go to the book of Micah. Some more scriptures. The book of Micah, the 7th chapter, 18 and 19.
Micah chapter 7 and verse 18. Who is a power like unto thee?
Who is a God like unto thee? The Most High. Read.
That pardoneth iniquity.
That pardons sin. Read.
And passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage.
There's none like him. Read.
He retaineth not his anger forever.
See how the Most High is? He's not angry forever. The Most High does not keep grudges like people. Okay? He's not angry forever. You can have a person that you will cut off forever because of one instance and forget about all the righteousness or the good in that person. That means the invisible, the negative came in for that one purpose, to separate you from someone who loved you. The Most High is not like that. He's not like that. No, not no one instance going to have it where I'm going to put off Israel forever. Even though I gave the promise to Abraham, these people continue to sin against me. I don't want them. Suppose he was like us. Think about that. Now, this is the spirit of how the Most High, when we deal with the invisible workings of the Most High in our lives, we must understand him. Read.
He retaineth not his anger forever.
Read.
Because he delighteth in mercy.
He delighteth in mercy. So what's the reverse of that, brothers and sisters? The reverse of how the Most High is unforgiveness, bitterness, hatred, variance. That's when we're being controlled by the negative on Satan's side. Read.
Verse 19.
Come on.
He will turn again. He will have compassion upon us.
He will have compassion upon us.
He will subdue our iniquities.
He would subdue our sins. Read.
And thou wilt cast all their sins into the depths of the sea.
And I will cast all their sins into the depths of the sea. What sins? What was cast in the depth of the sea during Christ's time when he cast it into swine and they went into the sea? Demons. Sins are an indicator of a demon that's in your members. The invisible. Christ cast it out and cast it into a herd of swine. It went into the depths of the sea. So what was in the man? The demons. Sin. Workings of the invisible. He will have mercy on us and cast our iniquities into where? The depths of the sea. So when you do the precepts to that iniquity and what was cast in the depths of the sea, it's demons. Demons, folks. I'm going into the workings of the invisible to recognize them. Right? Let's go to Isaiah 1 and 16.
Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 16.
Come on.
Wash you.
Wash you.
Make you clean.
Make you clean.
Put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil.
Cease to do evil. Wash you. Make you clean. Put away the evils of your doings before the Most High. Cease to do evil. Right? Now, the invisible manifests itself based on our everyday actions. Right? If you're operating in the spirit of the Most High, and that invisible power is controlling you according to Christ, or not controlling you, but you are one with it, you're temperate, you're caring, you're patient. But if something else is ruling you, ever so often, you lash out. You're impatient. All right? You're bitter. This is how the invisible manifests itself, or whether or not you're with the Most High or there's a spirit operating. These are the physical manifestations. Right? So the Bible says, wash you, make you clean. Look within you and see whether or not something is there. Are you feeling a certain type of way about someone else? Is it forever on your mind? Are you being consumed in that thought, negative about someone else? Guess what? That's a demon. I know you don't want to attach yourself to that, but it's the truth. it attached itself to you. You have to recognize that and not try to protect the spirit. Understand that something is working that's going to have you, actually deal with the course of this demon outside of you. It's going to make you do things that you would normally do concerning your own brother or sister. That's why the Bible says, wash you, make you clean, look at yourself. Read.
Verse 17.
Come on.
Learn to do well.
Learn to do well.
Seek judgment.
Seek judgment.
Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Most High.
It says, now the Most High is saying, you and I have to reason. Not you and I, you and him. This agreement and walk for the kingdom of heaven, this promise, is between you and the Father, the same way it was between Abraham and the Father. Right? He says, what? Read that last piece again, Shaphat.
Verse 18. Come now, and let us reason together.
Let us reason together. There's an agreement. The Most High is saying, I'm going to give you the kingdom. It's yours. It was promised to your father. Read.
Saith the Most High.
Come on.
Though your sins be as scarlet.
The Most High don't care what you did in the past. Even yesterday. It's over with. If you can recognize what's in you. Read it again.
Verse 18. Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Most High. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow.
I can cleanse you, is what the Most High is saying. I can take that burden off you. I can rid you of all these spirits. Now, of course, right, we used the guy that was riddled with many spirits as the example, right? But that's more so something that you can see every day and recognize, okay, something is wrong with that person. That's straight out. Someone screaming, cutting themselves, speaking out of turn, speaking to something invisible, talking right there, and it's something really there, but you can't see it. Right? That's the anomaly to some degree. But then we have to examine those that are functional people that operate every day with demons. That don't stand out like this guy that had many. Okay? That's usually the exception, just to show you that, okay, the spirits do exist. Look at what's going on with this person running around, climbing walls and doing all types of stuff that you couldn't normally do because they're being ruled. But the majority of people Satan is using for his kingdom are really walking with demon possession and are functional within society. They seem normal. And they'll even tell you. They'll say it right out. Well, we all have our demons. I don't agree with that statement. Okay. All right. We can be clean from them through Christ. The majority of people are functional and operate, and they'll look sane. They'll operate, and you'll believe they're normal. But they're being controlled through the course of this world. Read.
Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool.
Come on. White as wool. Pure. Clean. Come on.
Verse 19. If ye be willing and obedient.
Now here's the agreement the Most High have with you. If you are willing to be what?
If ye be willing.
Willing.
And obedient.
And obedient. See? The Most High is saying, if you do it my way, I'll cleanse you. I'll rid you of these spirits that continually knock you backward and keep you from exercising that invisible power who's for us. He says, I can take care of that. If you're willing to follow the book. Okay. Come on.
Ye shall eat the good of the land.
I will give you the promises of your father Abraham. Everything that I showed Abraham, you will have. Okay? That promise was to the faithful. Okay? Not to someone who has a legion. The promise is not for all these other spirits that's operating with you. It's for the faithful. See that? So the Lord is the Most High is down with you. He's not down with what you've come accustomed to operating within you. He's down with you. The promise was to your father. But you have to wash yourself and make yourself clean. That means put down the old man, the old habits, and we can't make excuses for them anymore and hide them anymore. Read.
Verse 20.
Come on.
But if ye refuse and rebel,
come on,
ye shall be devoured with the sword.
You shall be devoured with the sword. You're going down with the fallen ones and their children. You're going down with the demons. Even tomorrow, when I go into tracing the serpent seed, brothers and sisters, hey, we're going to go into how these demons even came to be. Where did they come from? I'll be talking about that tomorrow. Come on.
For the mouth of the Most High hath spoken it.
The mouth of the Most High, which is the Bible, has spoken it. Right? Let's go to 1 Peter 5, 6, and 9. First Peter 5, 6, and 9.
1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 6. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of the Most High.
Humble yourself under the mighty hand of the Most High. Read.
That he may exalt you in due time.
Humility. We must be careful and when we excuse a demon, like you would have someone that's probably a certain type of way and just say, well, any of you have to accept how I am because I was always like this. No, we don't. We have to accept Christ. People say, well, this is just me. Okay, you're protecting the demon. We must humble ourselves and recognize what's wrong in us. Okay? So that we can actually rid ourselves, with the help of the Most High, from these habits, which are really demons. We try to excuse it and say, well, this is just me. Accept me the way I am, or, well, okay then. That's my cue. Accept you the way you are, or what? You mean to tell me you're going to continue to be this way, even though it's against the Most High? Doesn't make any sense. That's just me. You heard people in the world say it. You either love me or leave me. Okay. I'll take the second one. Okay. I'm out of your presence. You can't impose your habits, which is a demon, on other people. Or just try to make an excuse of why you just allow the demon to reign. Well, this happened to me, and this is why I'm the way I am. Negative. Because this happened to me, I'm going to let the demon reign and hurt someone else. So we must humble ourselves before the Most High and say, Lord, take this from me. I don't like being like this. This is wrong. I don't like having what happened to me influence other people negatively. Cleanse me of this. Read.
1 Peter 5 and 6. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of the Most High.
Come on.
That he may exalt you in due time.
Come on.
Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you.
Come on.
Be sober.
Now, see, these are the strengths. This is what strengthens your faith. You're casting your cares upon him. So now, no longer are you ruled through the spirit of fear. It's all on our invisible power, a higher. He's manifesting himself. He's going to cleanse us. He's going to help us cleanse it because we are acknowledging it now. We confess our faults and we say, Lord, I can't do it by myself. I need help. We put our cares on him. And now what do? He'll stave off the forces and give you a reprieve from them because you recognize what's going on. He'll stave them off and say, okay, now my child is asking for my help. Let me build this brother or sister. But you can't be in it while you're dealing with the sin and saying, Lord, help me. Like the example, you have somebody sitting there, smoking a blunt from here to where the camera is, saying, Lord, man, you got to take this from me. It don't work like that. Not while you're getting high. You wait till you're in a high state to talk about, please help me through this. I know it's wrong. Read it. It's going to tell you. Be what?
Be sober.
Be sober when you go before the Most High. Not high. Okay? Because when you're operating like that, you're still being used by force. When you're doing it in a drunken or what you would call a high state. Okay? You're still doing it. You're not humble in a contrite spirit. You're under the influence of a demon. Be sober. Read.
Be vigilant.
Vigilant.
Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
He's looking to destroy you and drag you down to hell with him. He just need a way in. Read.
Whom resist, steadfast in the faith.
So, whom resist steadfast in the faith. If you're in the faith of Abraham, you can withstand the devil. He has no power. He can only gain entry through your emotions. He'll catch you in a weak state. And usually when you're feeling a certain type of way, and I'm going to tell you, the majority of the time when he come in, when you give him a place, is when you're dead right. Now check that out. You've been wronged. Okay? And because you know you've been wrong, you seek retribution or some level of revenge outside of waiting on the Most High. That's when he come in. You're dead right. How dare them say this or do that? All that I've done and all that I da. And that's how Satan work on you. Be like, okay, let me in. You're right. Right? Because who, and think about this, brothers and sisters. Who was more right than Christ? Who could be more right than him? And through all the negative, he went through it until he gained all power. Satan wants you to seek vengeance because that's his mindset. Once he fell, he says, I'm going to go back to the sides of the north. I will be like the Most High. I will fight the Most High. The spirit of vengeance and hatred towards brethren came from him. It's a demon. Read on.
Whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world.
The same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world, who are under the dark forces. We can't be like them. We can't resolve things like them. We are not like them. We're the children of the Most High. We're different. We resolve things totally contrary to how this world does it. Okay? Only have a few more. Let's go to Revelations 18, 1 through 4.
Revelations chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven.
Come on.
Having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying,
Come on.
Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. Remember when I said, as in the days of Noah, how all the evil was going on, but only a small, minute number, which is 8 people, made it through, right? And I mentioned that we're in the days of Noah now, when that ship was being built and no one was listening and everyone else was still going about their lives. Now the Most High is saying in our time, Christ says, like it was in the days of Noah, then shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Now we're in the book of Revelations, and it reads, what? Read
Verse
it again.
2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
Babylon the Great is fallen, it's fallen. That means what? The glory of her is waning. It's over. Babylon been lost its luster, its glory. Read.
And is become the habitation of devils.
And have become the habitation of devils. Okay? Babylon is a place that are ruled by dark forces. Okay? And demon possession is at its height. Okay? The demons are loose. There was another seal broken where it says the spirits would be released from the river Euphrates. That has happened. Okay? That's why now everything they prescribe is psychomedicine, because people are overtaken with demons all throughout Babylon and this earth, especially in Babylon. The majority of people are possessed with demons. Read.
And is become the habitation of devils.
Come on.
And the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
And those are demons, spirits. Read.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Come on.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
Come on.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Exactly. Now that the other nations have for years been serving Satan, they've gotten rewarded through what? Being able to control or be in allegiance with demons. It's part of their religions. Right? Now what the nations are doing, brothers and sisters, that are these Gentile nations in their religions, are paying homage to the demons who have given them knowledge to how to continue to control and to utterly destroy God's people. They're in league with the demons to oppress us. They pray that the demons can do things to us. And you know what? It works if you're dealing with the invisible forces on their side. It works. This is how they're able to come through and control everything that belongs to us or control us. It's because our actions, our sins, are actually putting us under the power of the demons they are in league with. Okay? That's how it works. So they are in agreement. They have drunk the wine of Babylon. They all in agreement to follow these demons or to have been in allegiance with these demons, to oppress and to continually enslave the children of the promise. That's what this is about. Read.
Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people.
And I heard another voice from heaven saying what?
Come out of her, my people.
Come out of her, my people. Right? Now, first it's spiritually. Wash you, make yourself clean, put away the evils of your doings. get baptized for the remission of sins, gather with those of like minds, because where two or more gathered, he's in the midst. No one can fight alone. But then after that, it's actually talking about physically leaving before the judgment, according to prophecy. Okay, according to prophecy, before this earth is finished, before Christ returns, Babylon will be utterly wasted. The demons have overran the full terrain. There's nothing left that's pure or holy anymore. It's ripe for fire. It's ready for judgment. The same way ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was. It's to a point now when you examine what's going on in the earth. Now little boys can be little girls can be little boys. These are all demons, folks. You can't teach the Bible. You can't tell people what's right, or you hater, or you are hate. That's hate speech. You can't read the Bible, or you're crazy if you read the Bible and allow the craziness to overtake anything that's sovereign or right. You see sodomites all over the place controlling things that are over counseling families and all that. There's no healing Babylon, folks. It's over. It will not change. What it's about now is getting those that belong to the Most High to get ready to go. And the invisible power is going to guide us. He guided Moses. Okay? He guided the disciples. He guided Christ. He guided the disciples. And we can't have the spirit of fear. Eventually, brothers and sisters, it's a physical migration. Okay? Where we're not going to do it in number like what happened in ancient Egypt. It's not going to happen like that. But the Bible tells us eventually we're going to have to leave. Read.
Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people.
Come on.
That ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Because eventually, there's so many sins and so many opportunities here that it's going to lure you into something. Eventually, it's going to find your weakness. It will. Read.
Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven.
Her sins have reached unto heaven. Read.
And the Most High have remembered her iniquities.
And the Most High have remembered the sin of Babylon. The agreement, the allegiance with Satan. The spirits that continually destroy his chosen. Read.
Verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double.
Double is coming to Babylon. Double. After the war with Iran, it's not going to take too long. Probably going to be a few months off. But subsequent to the war in Iran, when they strike Iran, Israel will be hit, and eventually parts of England will be hit, London, and they're going to hit America. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. That's going to be it. America is going to be broken into three pieces. It still will be here for a while, because it's going to be broken in and be controlled by three separate countries. But just the nuclear fallout by itself will eventually kill off the majority of the population. Okay? So we must prepare. It's coming. Okay? We must prepare. We must link into that invisible power. Become right. Link into him. And through faith, be guided. Okay? Now, we're not looking to do things as individuals. That ain't how Christ set up a church. We do things together, which was discussed amongst the elders and deacons during the time of Passover. Everything is together. One mind, one spirit, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. Even with getting all of the souls together and cleansing ourselves and doing what's right. And while we're setting up the mission to convert others, get the churches in preparation for what's outside of Babylon, after the fall, after the judgment. Let's go to 1 Timothy 6 and 18. Only two more scriptures, folks.
1 Timothy chapter 6.
Let's start at 17.
And verse 17.
Yes.
Charge them that are rich in this world that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in a living power who giveth us richly all things to enjoy.
Read that again.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 17. Charge them that are rich in this world that they be not high-minded.
Now, I'm going to this scripture first. I was going to start at 18, but I wanted to go here first. When it says, charge them to be rich in this world. I've seen people, including churches, pull out this scripture and say that if people are rich, you got to charge them, you got to tell them to give more money. It's not talking about that. The Most High is now telling the disciples to warn those who may have something in Babylon, who may have some riches, who may have the cares of this world and don't want to let go. And guess what? That can be that person's demon. Read it. Read it.
Charge them.
Tell them. That means tell them. The disciples tell the rich what?
That are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded.
That you be not high-minded. Don't think that you get preferential treatment based on your status in Babylon. Based on your financial status. Because that can be your demon. Don't forget, Satan, the first thing he tempted Christ with in Matthew 4 was with all the riches of this world. Okay? You have to be like Moses, who's willing to walk away from everything and stay rich in spirit. You don't get no preferential treatment because you have money. Read.
That they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches.
Go ahead.
But in the living power who giveth us richly all things to enjoy.
Come on.
That they do good, that they be rich in good works.
That they be rich in good works. Which within this work. Delivering the men and women who are in peril, who are in bondage. Teaching the gospel. Read.
Ready to distribute.
And if they do have something, get ready to distribute it according to the needs of the people. Read.
Willing to communicate.
And willing to communicate, which is key. Willing to communicate. And well, I'll leave that for another time. Go on.
Verse 19. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation.
Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation. Why? Because they're going to have a choice. They're going to need to make a choice when the mark of the beast comes on the scene. Okay? The choice is, they're not going to take the money from you, folks. It's going to be in credit. They're going to be like, well, you can get it. I didn't take it from you. We have a different source that you would need to have access to it. So they're not going to take nothing from nobody. They're going to tell you it's still in the bank. But your cards don't work anymore. You want to access it? So those that do have something have to be ready to communicate and think about what they're going to do with what they have, which will still be there for them once the mark of the beast is instituted. Because you're not going to have access to it. It's just going to be a bunch of numbers. But unless you get the mark of the beast, you will not have access to it if you have something. If there's money in the bank. So when it says be ready to communicate, you got to be ready to say, well, oh, let me look at the plans of the Most High and see where this translates after Babylon is destroyed. Where this, can benefit, the work going forward. After all of this. And then after what? The mark of the beast. Because I'm not going to have access to it. Read.
Verse 19. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come.
Come on.
That they may lay hold on eternal life.
Come on.
O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust.
To thy trust, which is the truth, the Bible, Christ. Read.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings. Read.
And oppositions of science, falsely so called.
Because science and how they construct science against the Bible is evil. Read. It leads people into unbelief. Read.
Verse 21. Which some professing have erred concerning the faith. Grace be with you. Amen.
Let's get Galatians 6, 7 through 9, and then we'll end it there. Galatians 6, 7 through 9. Read it.
Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. Be not deceived. The Most High is not mocked.
The Most High is not mocked.
For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
Whatever a man or woman soweth, that's what you reap. If you sow righteousness, what comes, and goodness, what comes back? What you planted. If you sow wickedness, evil, variances, hatred, that's what you planted. What comes back? Read.
Verse 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption.
Come on.
But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting.
Come on.
And let us not be weary in well-doing.
Let us not be weary in well-doing. You may do good and not think that you're not. You may think that there's no appreciation for it, that you're getting nothing in return, but you're doing it not for a temporary, adulation. You're doing it with faith towards a reward that only Christ can give you. So don't be weary in well-doing. Don't think what you're doing, the righteousness, the people that are doing what's right, don't think it's for naught. The Most High sees it. Don't be weary in well-doing. Read.
For in due season we shall reap.
In due season is when Christ returns. Read.
If we faint not.
If we faint not. If we don't turn back. Okay. And of course there's more to the lesson, but again, I'm at the end of this due to time. It's 3:20 Eastern right now. What we're going to say here is you can stand strong going forward in the low times, but still look at the Father in the heavens to raise you up in due time. Fight against the forces of darkness through truth and never look back to your former life. Go forward and be strengthened in this truth and understand the invisible God, Ahia, in righteousness is on your side. Okay, I hope that this particular lesson at the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is tonight, can strengthen you. And if this lesson applies, brothers and sisters, If it resonated with you today about the invisible God and forces on either side, okay, if it resonated, any part of it, please apply it. With that, I'm going to say shalom. That concludes our Sabbath lesson this week. And I have some announcements, starting with the announcement of Lawya. Hold tight. About Lawya.